That's here. We warmly welcome you all to today's temple program. We'll now begin as usual with Arti and Kirtan, leading into a special Vedic discourse by His Grace Adisham Prabhu. Hare Krishna. We're going to get started with the Kirtan at this time.
Yeah.
Or we'll just use the same.
Then I can. Yeah. I use this to read after you.
How do we increase this one?
I don't know how to. It will go out of tone.
Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine
Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine
Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Dikacharine Namaste
Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Dikacharine
Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda
Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda
Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda
Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda
Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta-vrinda.
Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta-vrinda.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radhe Shyam, Jaya Radhe Shyam, Jaya Radhe Shyam, Jaya Radhe Shyam. Jaya Jagannatha, Jaya Jagannatha, Jaya Baladeva Mai Subhadra. Jaya Jagannatha, Jaya Jagannatha, Jaya Baladeva Mai Subhadra. Jaya Narasimhadev, Jaya Narasimhadev, Jaya Narasimhadev, Jaya Narasimhadev, Jaya Narasimhadev, Jaya Nitai, Jaya Gaura Nitai,
Jaya Gaura Nitai, Jaya Gaura Nitai, Gaura Nitai, Jaya Gaura Nitai.
Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada,
Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada.
Nitai Gaura Hari Bo, Hari Bo,
Hari Bo,
Hari Bo, Nitai Gaura Hari Bo,
Nitai Gaura Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Nitai Gaura Hari Bo.
Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Vishwabhakti Iskan Haridas Samhitan ki jai. प्याम से कहा श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि श्री गौर भक्तवृंद की जय. All goes to the assembled ladies. Hare Krishna. All goes to Sri Guru Gauranga. Hare Krishna. All goes to ISKCON Injar. All goes to Sri Prabhupada. All goes to Sri Prabhupada. Nani Thai Gaur Pramanande.
Hari Bo.
What I do? Hare Krishna. Okay. So this is Bharat and this is Master.
That's right. Let's introduce. I promise I don't bite. It's not until it's nearly dinner time.
Now, devotees, well, first of all, welcome to all the devotees that joined in a little later. And thank you all for joining in, joining into our kirtan. As usual, it was a very blissful kirtan led by His Grace Adisham Prabhu. And now Prabhu will also give us a special Vedic discourse as being the Holy Name Week. We're going to be talking about the glories of Harinam. We touched upon it a little bit last week in the discourse by His Grace Advaitas Prabhu. And so Adisham Prabhu will expand and give us more enlightening knowledge on the importance of Harinam, why is it even important, and everything else around it.
As usual, we'll start with a short kirtan, and then we'll go from there. Right? So, kirtan is pretty simple, 2 lines, and sing and you repeat after. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari, Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari
Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari
Yashodanandana Rajadana Randana
Yashodanandana Rajadana Randana
Yamuna Tiravarachari
Yamuna Tiravarachari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari
Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari
Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari
Yashodanandana Rajadana Randana
Yashodanandana Rajadana Randana
Yamuna Tiravanachari
Yamuna Tiravanachari
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura, Hari Bol. Jai Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai, Prabhupada ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Jai. So normally when we read the scriptures, there are prayers that we chant before we read. The intent is to invoke auspiciousness, and it is also to bring our focus and show gratitude for availability of these scriptures. Right? So this is Srimad Bhagavatam. Today we are going to read from there. So the prayers are going to be different from the ones that were discussed last week. So please you can repeat after me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskritya
Narayanam Namaskritya
Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam
Tato Jayam Udirayet
Tato Jayam Udirayet.
Nashtaprayeshu Abhatreshu
Nashtaprayeshu Abhatreshu
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Bhagavati Uttama Shloke
Bhagavati Uttama Shloke
Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiti.
Patre Navati Naishati.
Thank you so much for joining today. As always, these sessions are meant to be a discussion, so ask any questions. If you don't understand something, please ask for clarifications. So, Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita says, Yajnanam Japa. Right? So, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And in that chapter, in every category of things, he says, I am this, to show that his position is supreme. Along those lines, he says, Japa, or chanting, he is the chanting amongst all the sacrifices. Right? Now one may wonder, sacrifices should have a large, like a sacrificial arena, there must be so much gold and so many things that need to go into, right? If you read the scriptures, there are big yajnas like Rajasuya yajna, Shwamela yajna that they used to perform that to give benefits. Krishna has not chosen any of those. He's particularly chosen chanting. And today we will see why. Right? So we will touch briefly on some of the glories of chanting. So this is from Srimad Bhagavatam again. This is the last verse of Srimad Bhagavatam. Canto 12, chapter 13, verse 23. I'll read the translation. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Lord Hari, the congregational chanting of whose holy names destroys all sinful reactions, and the offering of obeisances unto whom relieves all material suffering. Do you all have suffering in our lives? We do, right? So in this age, chanting of the holy names is the means to relieve us from that suffering. And why is it particularly in this age? Because in this age, we don't have qualifications to do any of the other sacrifices properly. The kind of regulations that are there, the resources that you need, some of the other, you need to be meditating for tens of thousands of years. Our lifespans are so short, it is not possible. So for the age of Kali, chanting is recommended, and it has absolutely no rules or regulations. You can chant anywhere, in any position, at any time. in whatever condition you are, you can chant. And that is the speciality of chanting. So today we will discuss a pastime from Srimad Bhagavatam that illustrates the power of the Lord's names. So I will read from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 1, Verse 6. Adhunehe mahabhaga yathaiva narakan naraha nanograyatananeyat tanme vyakhyatum. Translation. O greatly fortunate and opulent Sukadeva Goswami, now kindly tell me how human beings may be saved from having to enter hellish conditions in which they suffer terrible pains. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. In the 26th chapter of the 5th canto, Sukadeva Goswami has explained that people who commit sinful acts are forced to enter hellish planets and suffer. Now Maharaj Parikshit, being a devotee, is concerned with how this can be stopped. A Vaishnava is paradukta dukhi. In other words, he has no personal troubles, but he is very unhappy to see others in trouble. Prahlad Maharaj said, My Lord, I have no personal problems, for I have learned how to glorify your transcendental qualities, and thus enter a trance of ecstasy. I do have a problem, however, for I am simply thinking of these rascals and fools who are busy with Maya Sukha, temporary happiness without knowledge of devotional service unto you. This is the problem faced by a Vaishnava, because a Vaishnava fully takes shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He personally has no problem, but because he is compassionate towards the fallen conditioned souls, he is always thinking of plans to save them from their hellish life in this body and the next. Parikshit Maharaj therefore anxiously wanted to know from Shukadeva Goswami how humanity can be saved from gliding down to hell. Shukadeva Goswami had already explained how people enter hellish life, and he could also explain how they could be saved from it. Intelligent men must take advantage of these instructions. Unfortunately, however, the entire world is lacking Krishna consciousness, and therefore people are suffering from the grossest ignorance and do not even believe in a life after this one. To convince them of their next life is very difficult because they have become almost mad in their pursuit of material enjoyment. Nevertheless, our duty, the duty of all sane men, is to save them. Maharaj Parikshit is the representative of one who can save them. So it's a very interesting and a very powerful purport. Right? If you think about it, so at least in this flow of the Srimad Bhagavatam, so the previous chapter or previous canto, Shukadeva Goswami explains the hellish planets. He describes what are the hellish planets, what kind of punishment will be given for what kind of sins and all that. And in fact, even the process of being taken to the hellish planet is very, very harsh. So Parikshit Maharaj, of course, being very compassionate and very soft-hearted, see, he was the emperor, right? So he always cares about his subjects. So he's like, how can I save everybody? So that is why he asks this question, right? In that context, this question is asked. So now, when he asks this question, then Shukadeva Goswami responds. This is from Srimad Bhagavatam, same 6.1 and verse 8. Therefore, before one's next death comes, as long as one's body is strong enough, one should quickly adopt the process of atonement according to Shastra. Otherwise, one's time will be lost and the reactions of his sins will increase. As an expert physician diagnoses and treats the disease according to its gravity, one should undergo atonement according to the severity of one's sins. Now that sounds pretty reasonable, right? You commit a sin, you do something to atone for it, right? The more grievous or more sinful or the more harsher the sin, the more atonement you have to do. That much seems pretty logical. So when Parikshit Maharaj hears this, he's like, okay, that makes sense to me. So does that mean everything is good? If they can atone and they'll be okay, then I'm happy, right? We are all set. But Shukadeva Goswami says no. Why does he say no? What is the problem after atonement? Yes.
you still gonna come back. It's just
You'll still sin again, right? That's what you're saying. Yeah, that's right. So that is the problem with simply atoning at a surface level. You may remove the reaction from this sin if it is possible, but you end up sinning again and again. So it becomes like a cycle, right? That is one problem with the confession in Christianity. If people confess but they don't change, then that confession is meaningless. You're just unloading your burden onto somebody else, right? And then moving on. Even in Hinduism, it's the same. So people go take a bath in the Ganges, and they're like, okay, my sins are washed off. Now I have a clean slate. Let me start all over again, right? Such actions are compared to bath of an elephant. If you see an elephant having a bath, it goes, spends a lot of time in the water, cleans itself completely, comes out, picks up mud, and throws on itself. That is how this kind of atonement is compared to by the scriptures. So then, of course, Parishit Maharaj says, all right, so is there a permanent solution at all? Because if you're saying atonement is not enough. So then Shukadeva Goswami explains, this is same chapter, verse 15. Only a rare person who has adopted complete unalloyed devotional service to Krishna can uproot the weeds of sinful actions with no possibility that they will revive. He can do this simply by discharging devotional service, just as the sun can immediately dissipate fog by its rays. So that is the difference. What happens, the scriptures explain how we sin. There are different categories, there are different stages in which sin matures. It starts off with small tendency or desire to sin in our heart. So the atonement only takes care of the reaction at the end. It doesn't actually touch the desire or clean cleansing of our heart. The only process that does that is bhakti. So another example, if you give, let's say there is a forest, right? There is a forest fire that burns everything. But if the roots under the soil are still healthy, the plants may recover. They may come back. Right? And that is how it is if you simply atone the sin. You need to take it out of from the root. It needs to be uprooted. And that only bhakti can do. So now you may wonder, okay, so far so good, but is bhakti really able to do that? It sounds pretty simple. If all I have to do is bhakti, I don't have to spend a mountain of gold or anything like that. That sounds pretty, that doesn't sound serious enough for such a big result, right? So to address that and to make sure that we can accept it, Shukadeva Goswami explains this pastime of a person called Ajam. So I'll touch briefly on who Ajamal is, and then we'll go into the pastime and a little bit into his background. So Ajamal was born in a Brahmin family. Right? He was born in a high-class family. He was educated and all that. But he married a prostitute and had 10 kids. Right? And the youngest was named Narayan. Ajamal would call the boy while eating, while drinking, while playing, while sleeping. He was very affectionate. The boy was around 3-ish years old. And in order to upkeep such a large family, he would commit a lot of sinful activities. Right? And he kept living that way until the age of around 88 years old. Even at that age, he had a 3-year-old son, right? 3-ish-year-old son. And he would commit sinful actions every day. And without realizing that his life is about to end. If we think about our own life, it is like that, right? We may not be committing as many sinful actions, but we live our life without realizing that it is going to end. And we need to understand that yes, the death is coming. So how are we preparing ourselves for it? So we'll see what happened with Ajamal, and that should give us some ideas for what we can do. So Ajamal, at his deathbed, suddenly he saw 3 people appear. They were extremely fierce and scary. The description is given, they were scary looking, their body was all contorted, even their face was contorted. They had hair spikes in their body instead of hair. and they had a rope in hand and they were very ugly looking, right? So when Ajamil saw this, of course, scared out of fear, and with tears in his eyes, he called out Narayan. He called out his son Narayan, right? He called out his son. His son didn't show up. His son was busy playing. He didn't bother to show up, but Vishnu Dutas came. So Vishnu Dutas are servants of the Supreme Lord Vishnu or Narayan, and they serve him in Vaikuntha, the spiritual world. So the moment they heard their Lord's name being called at the time of death and in surrender, they immediately appeared. And these Vishnu Dutas stop the Yamadutas. They said, stop. So how the Yamadutas work is they have a rope, like a lasso, and they put it around the subtle body of a person and they pull out forcefully from the body. So what happens is we are so attached to this body, we don't want to give it up. So when they come, they use the rope to forcefully pull out the soul from the body, the subtle body from the gross body, basically. And they were in the process of doing that. So Ajamil's body was completely paralyzed, right? Because it's starting to come out, so the body stopped moving. And he was stuck in that position, and Vishnu Dutta said, stop. So now these Yamadutas, the three personalities are called Yamadutas. They are servants of Yamaraj, who is responsible for judging everybody and or awarding punishment or reward, whatever based on for the next life. Right? That is his duty. That is his area of responsibility. So when Vishnu Dutta said stop, these Yamadutas were like, what? For the first time in their long and distinguished career, they were stopped by somebody. Right? And they don't carry any weapons because when people see them, they are so scared that they don't resist. So they never had to carry any weapons, never had to prepare or do anything. They just show up and they move on. Right? But suddenly this time they were stopped by Vishnu Duttas. So not only are there more Vishnu Duttas, 4 Vishnu Duttas came for 3 Yamadutas. The Vishnu Duttas are fully armed. They were wearing beautiful yellow silk clothes. They were having weapons and everything. So they were fully armed and they were more in number. So the Yamadutas were like for a second taken aback. And then they asked, who are you? You seem so pious. Why are you interrupting me from doing my duty? I am performing my duty. So the Vishnu Duttas instead asked them, who are you and why are you doing this? Right? So the Yamadutas said, they introduced themselves. They said, we are servants of Yamaraj. We are here to carry out his laws. And so that is why we are here. Yamaraj is also known as Dharmaraj because he's an authority on dharma, on the laws that govern our actions and everything. He's an authority. So he's known as Dharmaraj. So the Vishnu Dutta said, there is no way you can represent Dharmaraj because you are ignorant of dharma. And not only that, they asked them questions. Vishnu Dutta asked them, okay, if that is the case, tell me what is dharma? And they answered, dharma is whatever is given in Vedas. So, okay, where do the Vedas come from? And they answered, they come from the breath of Lord Narayan. And they continue so on, right? And then they basically explain, the Yamadutas explain in one of the answers, that all living entities in this material world are compelled to act according to the modes of nature. So this material world has 3 modes of nature: mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance. If we think about our lives, we go between these modes often. When sometimes we don't want to wake up from bed, we just want to sleep few more hours. We are under the influence of mode of ignorance. When we want to do party or go out and drink or whatever else it is, that is the mode of passion that is driving us. And the mode of goodness is when we want to do good things, right? When we go help people, things like that, under the influence of mode of goodness. So under the influence of these 3 modes, we are compelled to act and forced to act. But when we act under the influence of the modes, what happens? We get reaction. Depending on what action we do, we get a reaction, right? So if you see these, and then the Vishnu Dutas ask, okay, what is the exception to this? Is there anybody who is not affected by karma? And they say, yes. The only exceptions are those who are serving the Supreme Lord and in association with others who are serving the Supreme Lord. So by coming here and by being here, you are protecting yourself because you are under the association of people who are interested in discussing about the Supreme Lord. So they say, so the Yamadutas have so much knowledge, right? Everybody thinks of them as scary and threatening, but they have so much knowledge. Right? So Vishnudutas then asked, so when you know all this, why are you taking Ajamal? It's like, oh, that is a very good question. We didn't come unprepared. Here is his full record. And they start off. So they say Ajamal was born in a very pious family. He was born in a Brahmin family. From his young age, he was well trained. They actually describe his qualities: very well mannered, very mild natured, always speaks the truth, performs the religious duties with full determination, doesn't waver from them. So they describe a lot of these qualities. I mean, when you read them, you're like, oh, I don't have any of these, right? Ajamel had so many good qualities. And then so far so good, but then they say one day his father sent him to the forest. So he didn't go on his own. His father sent him to the forest to collect materials for like fruits, flowers for worship. So when he went there, he saw a man enjoying with a prostitute, right? And both were in a completely drunk state. They had no sanity at that point. So then, this is from Srimad Bhagavatam. So he saw that and he was very disturbed. So this is 6.162. As far as possible, he patiently tried to remember the instructions of the Shastras, not even to see a woman. With the help of his knowledge and his intellect, he tried to control his lusty desires. But because of the force of Cupid within his heart, he failed to control his mind. Even though he was well trained and he had that much solid grounding and the knowledge, he couldn't control his mind. Think of our position. We have none of those things. So our mind and senses can carry us away so easily, right? So eyes are very influential. Even we have a lot of impressions that the eyes take up and store. And we can be forced by it. The whole advertisement industry is just that, right? They show something at the right point in the right place and you get influenced by it. So anyway, so he was already married, but despite being married, he made that woman a servant in his house. And eventually he left his family and moved in with her. He lived with that woman for 50, 60 years. This was around, so 50, 60 years and had 10 kids. He would cheat, rob, steal, because in those days, Brahmanas are not allowed to collect a salary. You should perform functions, you need to go beg for alms, and then you need to live. But you cannot sustain like this, right? If your mind and is not satisfied, you cannot sustain, right? In that, so he needed more and more money, and he resorted to all negative ways to get money. And he had lived to 88 years old living like this. So the Yamaduta said, look at all his sins, everything he has committed. He's like a suited candidate for punishment in the hell. And they explain, if we take him to hell and he suffers all these reactions, he will become unburdened by these reactions and can have a fresh start in his next birth. So it is good for him. The Vishnuduta said, Vishnuduta said, but Vishnuduta said, no, he is not a candidate for punishment. So the Yamadutas were shocked. You know, when parents go to this PTA meetings and the teacher says, oh, your child is so quiet, so well behaved, you're like, wait, are we talking about the same child? You know, there is some mistake here, right? That was Yamaduta's reactions. They're like, what? I just spent all this time telling you his life's history. Here it is, I have a signed order from Yamaraj saying, you know, this guy is ready, and you're saying no. How does this make sense? So then Vishnudutas explained, he has performed an extraordinarily powerful purificatory action, which is chanting the Lord's name. Yamdutta said, but no way. He just called his son. No, that doesn't count. Right? So Yamdutta said, like, he just called his son. He didn't attend the Lord's name. You check. He has never sat and uttered the Lord's name out of intent. So that doesn't count. Vishnudutta said, yes, we agree that he didn't chant, he only called his son. But by uttering those 4 syllables, that much is enough. Right? So this is, I will read from the Srimad Bhagavatam again. This is 627. I will read the translation, of course. But Ajamil has already atoned for all his sinful actions. Indeed, he has atoned not only for sins performed in one life, but for those performed in millions of lives. For in a helpless condition, he chanted the holy name of Narayan. Even though he did not chant purely, he chanted without offense. And therefore, he is now pure and eligible for liberation. That is how powerful the Lord's names are. And they continue in verses 9 and 10. They list all the examples of the previous sins that one can commit, but the holy name can wipe them out. Right? And they go on. So I'll read now 6 to 14 and 15. Translation of 14. One who chants the holy name of the Lord is immediately freed from the reactions of unlimited sins. Even if he chants indirectly to indicate something else, jokingly, for musical entertainment, or even neglectfully, this is accepted by all the learned scholars of scriptures. This is where Prabhupada's brilliance comes in. He named this movement Hare Krishna movement. He said, just by people calling us, right, when you go, you are the Hare Krishnas. Even if they don't know anything, they say Hare Krishnas. But by that, they have uttered the Lord's name. So even indirectly, they get benefit. Sometimes people say, oh, these Hare Krishnas, all they do is dance around. Right? Still they get a benefit. Right? You can, even if you say for musical entertainment, if you just sing and you go, you still get benefit. It's quite amazing how much benefit comes. Even neglectfully if you chant. Many of us, when we chant our rounds, we may feel sleepy, we may feel drowsy, and we may be like, oh, is it still any effect? No, just say, yes, there is an effect. Can there be more effect with adult chanting? Of course. But still, as long as you do it, there is an effect. So this is 15 now. If one chants the holy name of Hari and then dies because of an accidental misfortune, such as falling from the top of a house, slipping and suffering broken bones while traveling on the road, being bitten by a serpent, being afflicted with pain and high fever, or being injured by a weapon, one is immediately absolved from having to enter hellish life, even though he is sinful. That is the power. We always worry, what will our death be like? Will it be painful? Will it be this? Will it be that? Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita actually explains, if you die at this time, you go here. If you die at that time, you go there. But my devotees don't have to worry. So if you chant the Lord's names, you don't have to worry. Because Krishna personally protects. Right? So, Vishnuduta's, there are a few more verses, but if we have time, I'll read them later. But basically, Vishnudutas then send the Yamadutas away. They say, okay, we've explained enough, now you go. If you still have doubts, go ask Yamaraj. Now stop whatever you're doing. So they leave. Now, Ajamil has been witnessing all this, right? Being unable to move. He's witnessing all this. He's not sure whether he's going to get dragged by those scary people or will the nice people win, right? So he's in that total suspense. And so he's waiting. And finally, when they disappear, immediately he can move. Right? He gets up, he offers obeisances, and then he's about to say something to thank them. And they realize he's going to talk to them and they disappear. Vishnu Dutas immediately disappear. They don't wait to talk to him. Right? So now Ajamil has understood. Right? So he then dedicates himself to bhakti. So I'll read this 6 to 33 and 6 to 35. So 6 to 33. Were it not for my past devotional service, how could I, a most unclean keeper of a prostitute, have gotten an opportunity to chant the holy name of Vaikuntapati when I was ready to die? Certainly it would not have been possible. 6 to 35. I am such a sinful person, but since I have now gotten this opportunity, I must completely control my mind, life, and senses, and always engage in devotional service, so that I may not fall again into the deep darkness and ignorance of material life. So this is extremely powerful for us. Ajamil, even though he was so sinful, he was able to chant the Lord's name because he had done some bhakti at some time, some previous birth somewhere. So Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, verse 40, Neha vikramanashvasti pratyavayona vidyate swalpam apyasya dharmasya trayate mahatokaya. The beautiful properties of bhakti is that no matter how you perform it, it will never backfire. So if I try to wire something in my house, if I don't connect the electrical wires properly, what will happen? Some accident, right? Bhakti is not like that. Even if you make some mistakes, it will not backfire on you. Then, that is pratyavaya, right? And nashasti, it will never be destroyed. Any bhakti we do will never be destroyed. Today, by coming here, sitting and listening, even if you were not able to focus, whatever little credit we got from this discussion is ours eternally. Nothing in this world, my friends, is like that. We work day and night for money, we work for health. We went when COVID hit, people with extremely fit bodies who had cultivated so much fitness wiped away instantly. But bhakti will never go away. And the third quality in that verse is little bit of progress saves us from the greatest of dangers. What is the greatest of dangers? What do you think are we in danger when we live our lives? We are, right? Whether we know it or not, we are in danger everywhere. The scriptures explain, padam padam yat vipadam. Every step there is a danger. What do you think is the greatest of dangers?
Fear of death.
Death, okay?
Fear from other creatures.
Other creatures, fear of again being hurt or dying, right? Yeah, what else?
Fear of being alone.
Fear of being alone, very nice. Because our position is to serve, and we cannot serve if we are alone. That is why we have this fear of being alone. But the scriptures explain that death is just a change of clothes. Vasansi jirnani yatha vihaya, Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita. So you die, you leave this body, you take next body. Just like when you go home, you will get out of these clothes and wear fresh clothes. But the greatest of dangers is when you take the next birth, you may take birth in the animalistic life or as an insect or as something else. That is the greatest of dangers. Why? Because you cannot do bhakti. Only in this human form you can do bhakti. But once you do bhakti, you are guaranteed another human birth. There are 84 lakh species according to the scriptures. So if you could get anywhere. So 1 in 84 lakh is your chance, odds of getting, right? But if you do bhakti, you are guaranteed at least one more human birth. So that is what Ajamil's example is. He said, I did this bhakti sometime in the past. So now I was able to chant the Lord's name. Now he dedicated himself to bhakti. right? And then at the time of death, what happened was the same four Vishnu Dutas came in a vehicle and they took him away. So that was the story itself of Ajamil, right? And I'll read one more verse. This is again from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 1, verse 19. Although not having fully realized Krishna, persons who have even once surrendered completely onto his lotus feet and who have become attracted to his name, form, qualities, and pastimes are completely free of all sinful reactions, for they have thus accepted the true method of atonement. Even in dreams, such surrendered souls do not see Yamaraj or his order carriers, who are equipped with ropes to bind the sinful. This is it, our only means of protection and safety from whatever danger or threats that we perceive or do not perceive. We will get full and perfect protection. And even a little bit of progress in this path saves us. So if you are at 1% and you die, you will resume at 1%. You never go back to zero. And that is the speciality of bhakti. A couple of more things that I can go into, but I'll pause here. Last time we had a really good discussion, so I want to leave a little bit time for that. So are there any questions or comments, please? Did it resonate? Does this, or what was your takeaway? Somebody can give, yes?
Could you also maybe just elaborate a bit on bhakti, like what's involved in
Ooh, a good question. So the bhakti or the process of bhakti actually begins with, let me see if I can find that verse. This is a wonderful question. Let me see if I can find that exact verse. That's it. So this is Canto 6, Chapter 3, verse 22. Devotional service, and this is Yamaraj, Dharmaraj who is speaking. Devotional service, beginning with the chanting of the holy name of the Lord, is the ultimate religious principle for the living entity in human society. So the process of bhakti is very powerful. Primarily, or many of the reasons, there are many reasons. But if you think about it, every day when somebody gives us something, what are we supposed to do? Show some gratitude, right? We show some gratitude in some way or form. When we are living in this world, we are consuming resources. We are breathing in air, we are drinking water, we are consuming food, right? We are consuming all these resources. If I walk into a store today and I pick up a fruit and I walk out without paying, I will face a consequence, correct? If I pay, they will reward me with some loyalty points or whatever, right? In the same way, we are living our life taking so many things to survive. But we are not giving anything, any gratitude or anything in return. So the scriptures explain, Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita that one must do sacrifices so that that cycle is sustained. If you don't, you will suffer punishment. Okay? You may say, all right, that sounds reasonable. If I go to a shop or whatever, I know Shoppers Drug Mart have brought this thing here, so I pick it up, I know who to pay. Now, logical question will be, who should I pay for the sunlight? Who should I pay for the air? Right? So Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that he is the creator and provider of everything. He says he is given everything. He says, from me, Mata Sarvam Pravartate. From me, everything comes. Right? So, and he also says, Mata Parataram Na Anya. There is nothing above me. So he is the ultimate source. Lord Brahma says in the Brahma Samhita, Ishvara Parama Krishna, Satchidananda Vigraha, Anadiradir Govinda, Sarva Karana Karana. That he is the cause of all causes. So it's a little bit of a long answer, but logically I'm hoping it will click. Bhakti is the process by which we show gratitude and love to the Supreme Lord who is providing everything to us. Because intrinsically we have nothing, we are always in loan or a lessee, right? We are always seeking. Because we are consuming, if we show gratitude to the Supreme Lord, then that is good behavior. Then we don't get reactions. That is why Yamadutas in that shloka said, everybody has sinful actions except those who serve the Supreme Lord. Because they are fulfilling their obligations, so they don't get any reactions. Right?
Also, our property as a soul
Is to serve.
Super
Yes. The property of the soul is to always serve. That's why fear of being alone is very rampant, because you cannot serve if you're alone. No matter, even if you had all the wealth in the world, but you are in an uninhabited island, it is worthless to you, right? So that has need to serve, right? So that is the process of bhakti. That is bhakti itself. Why bhakti? That is the answer. The process of bhakti starts with chanting, right? There are 4 powerful processes. There are actually 9 steps described, 9 processes of bhakti that Prahlad Maharaj has described. It starts with some faith. That is where like listening comes in. So when you start hearing, you start to build some faith. You're like, okay, that dot connected for me. Now this dot connected for me. So when you ask questions, it helps connect more and more dots. So it starts with hearing, and then once you hear, you start chanting. Say, okay, this sounds pretty good. There are all these benefits, and I have nothing to lose. So why not try chanting? When you try chanting, you feel the reciprocation, you feel the effect. Then it starts to build some more faith, and it builds on like this. Bhakti is not blind faith. It is practiced. It is experiential faith. Because if you try chanting for 30 days, if it has no effect, stop. Right? Try 108 times chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra for 30 days, and if it has no effect, stop. But you will see the effect. You will start to build on. So it starts with hearing. You chant is the most powerful of the process because it purifies the roots to sin, that tendencies it purifies. And then Prabhupada recommends reading books, scriptures, and then associating like this. Right? So you keep coming regularly, you keep asking questions, you keep listening, then your faith will build, then you will start doing. So the final step is prasada, to eat sanctified food offered to the Lord. So these are the 4 basic processes. If we do in bhakti, we will progress. I know it was a bit long answer, but did it answer your question?
Absolutely, yeah, very good answer.
and also provide.
Yes, please.
So he mentioned previously that our main identity is our soul, and we just leave our body and then go to another body, right? So it's in our sastras, like in the scriptures. So like if you want to have a practical, like, okay, I want to see something around me, like what's happening, you just need to Google and you can search for the incarnations. There are 1,000 cases, 1,000 cases you'll find. Now researchers are being researched. Like there are some incidents that say one person just left his body by accident, and in the other part of the world, he took birth, and he's a kid, a 2 years of kid, and he is saying like everything. Like, okay, I was in Windsor and I was hit by someone, and I just left her body, and there my wife's name is blah 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 everything, and they then okay research about this, and they find it out. This is a good. I was actually last few days I was roaming around and I just could connect with the birds who mentioned, you know. So it's nothing like, so the qualities or the benefits of chanting you cannot see like right away, but you can match the scriptures truthfulness with the practical life. So this will increase your faith to the scripture, whatever, and this is the only one. I think this is the greatest philosophy in the world right now. If the other philosophies you just compare with them, every verses, and you just can match it, but it takes time. I just provide a summary,
Yeah.
but it takes time. to come, like every one of us, to be connected and go to sastras, then we can connect all the dots.
Thank you, Prabhu. Yes, Madhuri.
Okay. Prabhuji, Ajamal Das just telling story.
Yes.
And I really impressed with that. And the second thing is, you said like he came into 88 years, so mid of 80s. Then that was the time he surrendered, or before that he was into spirituality, he's praying Krishna and all.
Yeah, good question. So in Ajamal's life, in this current birth that he was there, where this pastime occurred, he did not do bhakti. He followed the scriptures, he followed the regulative things. So karma kanda part of the Vedas, basically. So he followed those. He did not surrender until deathbed. Even at deathbed, he called his son's name in full surrender. He didn't even call the Supreme Lord. So his surrender happened after he saw Vishnu Duta.
Okay.
So his surrender happened when he realized that by just chanting the Lord's name once, I could wipe away all of the sins that I had committed. That basically convinced him.
There is no option actually.
Yeah.
No one will, unless he is fool or something like.
So that convinced him, right? And then that convinced him so firmly that he rocketed from there in his bhakti. Then he performed her. So he didn't surrender until that. Yes.
Another question, when we are chanting and there are so many ways to bhakti and
Yes.
we want to surrender. The God and we as experiences the more see what I felt is when we are chanting only that connection to one-on-one with the God, that connection is getting. So is that everyone is getting like that, or when they are doing, somebody is doing kirtan they are getting, or somebody is doing aarti they are getting, but for everybody individuality, right? Individual person devotee.
Yeah.
But for me, a connection, when we are chanting, that connection is nerve to nerve connection.
Yeah. So in this age of Kali, the scriptures explain Kali Kale Nama Rupe Krishna. That Krishna's appearance exists in this world, in this age of Kali, through his name. So when we actually chant the Lord's name, he is physically manifesting. Right?
You can say that.
Sometimes I feel he's listening.
Yeah. See, if you take this example, right? You're walking on the street, somebody calls your name. Milana, who's that? Right? We turn. Even when we turn that way, when we call the Lord's name, he will also pay attention. He will appear, he will listen. The question is, that connection, when we feel it, we have to nurture it. We have to be in that right state of mind and keep building on that connection, right? Feeling that connection is awesome. That is how Krishna is reciprocating.
And another thing is what I say, these are the things everybody, why chanting is important to connect with God. But there are another thing is I visualizing from the starting itself Krishna's. See, I have deities, but all the deities when I'm chanting also. But some of the times the Krishna and Radhesham is different. So everybody can feel like that, or what?
It doesn't matter, right? So Krishna's forms, there are many millions of forms. And the reason he has these forms is because we all have different ways we want to interact with him. Why is worshipping Krishna? So bhakti, we talked about it's, we talk more like CYA, right? Today, that's what we focused on. But there is so much pleasure to come from bhakti. Why that pleasure comes is because when I'm spending time with you, I'm not spending time with him. When I'm spending time with him, I'm not spending time with you. And I can only interact with you with the way that you express to me. I do not know what is in your heart. But Krishna, on the other hand, has unlimited resources. He can interact with each one of us individually and reciprocate and interact with us based on our inner desire, not what comes out of our mouth. So for that, he has so many forms that he has taken. Some people like Krishna as a baby so that they can care, so he takes that form. There are some people who can love Krishna as a friend. There are so many different forms. In fact, the forms like Narasimha and all of them are meant for specific emotions and specific connection. The key is connecting. That is yoga. Bhakti yoga. The yoga means to connect. So the key is to connect. Whatever encourages us to connect, we should follow. And that varies for everybody, right? In fact, the scriptures explain that every other process in bhakti is meant for one purpose in Kali, to improve our chanting. So,
Improve chanting means
yeah.
that is another thing. Sorry.
Yeah.
So you are saying like 4 types of doing chanting. That other 3 are understood like normally, but distractions with seeing computer or seeing phone and doing chanting, right? That is also acceptable. You are saying like, but how can we connect with Krishna seeing?
No, it's a very good question. Like I said, even if you are distracted and you are chanting, the Lord's names have an effect, right? That is like saying I'm going to the gym and my goal is to lose weight or build muscle, right? Even if I lift 1 pound and I do it, it will have an effect. But if my weight lifting capacity is much higher, unless I actually strain my muscles, they will not build again, right? Same way chanting. Yes, there will be an effect. It will be like lifting 1 pound or something and walking around. Anybody can do that. Right? It doesn't. For best effect, it needs to be focused. It needs to be intentful and targeted. So then the next logical question is how to do that, right? So I was listening to one lecture where they said that Maharaj said, you need to create a situation where you can focus. Put away the phone. Find a place in your house where you are like, this is my place where I come to chant. Wake up in the morning. I chant first thing in the morning because then your mind is less cluttered and it can focus more. You find a place, you create a routine where your mind learns that I'm going to chant now. And if you keep doing that over and over and over again, then the mind gets trained. Until then, it will always get distracted, but you forcibly bring it back. It is not easy. Arjuna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Chanchalam hi mana Krishna, pramati balavadridam, tasyaham nigraham manye, vayuriva sudushkaram. He says that, controlling the mind is so chanchal, it's constantly flittering, it is moving here and there. Right? But he says that, it is like a maddened elephant. I can even control the wind, but I cannot control the mind, he says. Right? We can relate to that. So Krishna responds, he says, Asanshayam Mahabhavu Manodurnigraham Chalam. He says, yes, the mind, undoubtedly, Arjuna, the mind is constantly fluttering. But by Abhyasena Vairagyena, he says, by practice and by some renunciation, you can bring it under control. You connect that with what we discussed today. The eyes are taking in so many things. If you control what you see with your eyes, it will help control your mind. That is Vairagya. Right? And if you keep practicing, it will come in line. Yes, Prabhu.
Is it possible to completely end up the thought process?
Possible to completely?
End of thought process, what we thought.
End of thought process?
Thinking process.
No, it is not. It is impossible to completely stop thinking. What is possible, the scriptures explain is yukta vaira, that you become engaged, you absorb your mind and thinking on Krishna. That is possible. Then it becomes proper. So this is actually Rupa Goswami explains this. So he expands on that vairagya. He says simply giving up things is artificial. I say, okay, today I give up my MacBook for the rest of the evening. What will happen? Or my phone, I'll be constantly thinking about it, right? That is not really giving up. But if I say, okay, I will use my MacBook to prepare for this lecture, I'm focusing it and using it in service of Krishna. That is possible. And that is the only way to become completely absorbed. Not by stopping, by adding. Yes.
So sorry for interrupting. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Sorry for diverting the topic a little. You mentioned about serving the Lord.
Yes.
And specifically the word serving. Now, in the material world, we usually consider serving, or if I may, servants as, someone like, no one wants to be. So everybody has that. But how we can convince, not others, but ourselves that, how is different, this serving different from the other serving?
It is not really different.
Okay.
We are fooling ourselves into thinking we are the masters. I think I am the master of my house. My wife thinks she's the master of the house. And what happens? Conflict. My children think they are the masters of the house. Right? All of us get away with being a master here and there. But in reality, we are all dependent. We have absolutely no ability. I cannot control the growth of my nails or growth of my hair or anything. I cannot even control how I breathe. I breathe in, but what happens with the breath, I have no control over. So I have no control over even my own body. Otherwise, I would never fall sick, or I would never put on weight, right? We have no control, but we pretend like we are masters. But the reality is we are serving. Every single day we are serving, every single minute we are serving. We are serving our boss at work, we are serving our teachers in the class, we are serving our friends at other times, we are serving our parents, our spouses. If we don't serve, we don't feel happiness. So our existence is serving. So our question is not, should I serve? I am serving whether I accept it or not. My question is, who should I serve?
Okay.
And that is the Supreme Lord. And why Supreme Lord? Because I said earlier, He reciprocates perfectly. That is our intrinsic nature. Even if you leave out our intrinsic nature, the way He reciprocates, He has unlimited resources, so He can give us everything we want. So even if you serve Him out of greed, you are better. Yeah? So we're just about at time, so we'll end now, and we can have more discussions on the side. Thank you so much for your time and attention today. Please forgive me if I misspoke something. All glory to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Adishan Prabhu, for such an enlightening source of knowledge, and the storytelling was just gave us so much perspective into why we even serve or why we even chant the holy name. Even for long-term devotees, I think you get so used to chanting on a daily basis that when you go back to the roots of why are we even doing this, I think it really brings everything into perspective. So thank you so much for enlightening us with the knowledge. I'd like to welcome or request all devotees to head towards Prashadam, but before that, a few points. I see two new faces today. Would you like to introduce yourself, Prabhu and Manju?
Hare Krishna. My name is Sanjeev Tikku. I'm a Kashmiri Brethren Pandit, and I have been in Canada for the last so many years, and I have been in Windsor for the last some years. I'm working here on a project, and today is the first time to visiting here. So, yeah, and, it's really good. So I would like also know, do you conduct these sessions on Saturday only or Saturdays only? Okay.
Program is down.
Because I called today morning as well. I left a voicemail message as well, like, what are the times that I want to confirm. But anyways, then there I saw the posting. So it was like written 26th of September, Saturday between 4 and 6. So there's no harm to come in, right? And she's a sister. She has just come to me from India. With her name is Usha.
Have you joined the ISKCON congregation group on WhatsApp?
I had actually, I'm already with the Toronto chapter, but I'm not sure whether that would be automatically, because they have a WhatsApp group, the Toronto one.
Yes, we have one too, so
Oh,
we'll add you.
okay,
Yes.
okay.
Thank you for joining.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Can you
Right, so with that, I think
WhatsApp group?
we'll now head towards Prashadam, and if you would like to lead us into.
महाप्रसादे गोविन्दे
महाप्रसादे गोविन्दे
नमो ब्राह्मणे वैष्णवे
वैष्णवे
स्वल्पपुण्यवतं राजन्
राजन्
विश्वासो नैव जायते शरीरा अविद्यजा ज्योतिन्द्रिये काहिका जीवे तले विषय सागरे पारमध्ये जिह्वाति लोकोमय सुदुर्मति ताके जेता कठिन संसारे कृष्ण बरदोयो मोय कोरी बारे जिह्वा जाय स्वप्रसाद अन्नादि लोभाय सेयनामृत पाओ राधा कृष्ण गुण गाओ प्रेमे डाको चैतन्य निताय जय निमाय जय निताय जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवास आदि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे
कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे हरे
हरे राम
हरे राम
राम राम हरे हरे
राम राम हरे हरे
महाप्रसादम की जय।